Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. I am thrilled that you are here listening today. And we got a great topic that is steps to a successful mediation. I was thinking about it this week, and I have not done a single episode on mediation. And if you are in an area or a state like mine, mediation is required through the court system as part of the divorce process. So we're going to get into 30 different things that are going to help assist you in having a successful mediation. Before we jump into that, let me just welcome some of the new members of the Divorced Advocate community. That is Josh, Ian, Nathan, Hafiz, and Graham. Welcome to the community. If you are not part of it already, check out the divorcedadvocate.com, and we've got all kinds of different resources for you there. One of the best ones there is the divorce quiz, and what that will do is it takes about 10-15 minutes for you to fill out. It'll give you a good idea of where you're at in your divorce compared to tens of thousands of other people who have taken this divorce quiz. It'll give you some immediate results and then also give you an opportunity to schedule some time with me to review those results. So check that out also at the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com. It's under the divorce quiz tab. And then there's other resources as well. If you join the membership site, there's a 7-day free trial to do that. You can get the expanded versions of this podcast as well as the full blog post and just a myriad of other things you can check out on the website. So take a look and get the support that you need and deserve while you're going through this difficult and challenging time. All right, let's talk about steps to a successful mediation. I have had the unfortunate opportunity of being in mediation now. I think next month is going to be the 7th time in mediation over the past 10 years. So just about every other year, or 6th time in 10 years. So yeah, that's quite a bit. So I have been there many, many times. It is a tool that can be incredibly beneficial depending upon the two parties. If you listen to my podcast long enough and enough episodes, you know that mine is the extreme circumstance and case to where it is potentially mediation is used in a different manner. But we can get into that a little bit in the different steps, and I'll share a little bit more about that and how and why. So the first two kind of are coupled together, and that is about the mediators themselves. And depending on where you're at in the country here or around the world, if you're listening in one of the other countries, but here in the States, just depending on where you're at in what state, choosing a divorce mediator that's also a divorce attorney can be a really good idea, just because divorce is highly complex. There are a lot of moving parts, and a divorce attorney is going to know some of the pitfalls to that. Now, where I'm at here, I would say the majority of mediators are not divorce attorneys. I guess I would have some reservation if a divorce attorney is a divorce mediator also, in the sense that if they're doing divorce mediation, they might not be that great of a divorce attorney because they don't have any business. I don't know if that's true or not. It's probably subjective and relative to any particular or specific divorce attorney and what their practice looks like. But if you can get one that is well versed, I know there are some that have been former judges that are good and know the legal system because they would have been former attorneys that became judges, that were family law judges, that know some of these pitfalls. Because one of the challenges is that there are so many moving parts. It's so complex that a mediator might overlook or not think of something, or worse, just give some bad guidance. They can't give legal advice, but guidance through the mediation process. The second part that kind of goes in conjunction with that is choose a local divorce mediator. I think in the metro areas here, like I live in, that's not really a big deal. There are so many, but maybe in some of the other more rural areas, that might be a little more of a challenge. You want somebody that knows and understands the divorce laws, because they're different. They are different in all of the different states here in the country, and they are even different in the specific counties within those states. So having somebody that is local is incredibly important. And definitely don't find somebody that is from a different state or a different. I mean, maybe you could do a different county in here, like in the metro area that I'm from. Counties are pretty close together, so that probably wouldn't be as big of a deal. But maybe in more of a rural area where there are more spread out counties, finding a mediator in a different county might not be such a good idea. So 1 and 2 of this are that find a divorce mediator that is a divorce attorney or is well versed in family law. And the second is find one that is a local divorce mediator. I also want to mention I took a lot of these tips and steps from an excellent article online at Snap Divorce. So check out Snap Divorce. They've got a lot of good resources there for you to take a look and prepare and get yourself educated on the divorce process. Okay, step number 3 would be find out how your divorce mediator will charge for mediation. So some of these mediators will charge by the hour. That's mostly how it is in our metro area here, but they also will just charge a flat fee. Dependent upon your circumstances, it could be better to have a flat fee because it's just not going to matter how long it goes. If you don't have something that's complex, then that could be better. It's just a flat fee. Or I'm sorry, if you have something that's complex, then a flat fee. It won't matter if you're in mediation and it's failing and you walk out, or you're going a long time. In the circumstance that it is complex and you're going a long time, just to having a flat fee. If it's by the hour, then it may go a long time. Now, if you're in a circumstance in where I've literally shown up and left in an hour because it was just no point in mediating because there was not going to be an agreement, and there never has been in the 6 times that I've been, but that is a unique circumstance, like I said, then by the hour is probably better because you're going to save a significant amount of money. So just be prepared because it can get rather expensive if you are in mediation for quite a long time. Now, if you're not required to go to mediation, then it doesn't really matter because you can just skip it, or you can just go for a short time and be done. But again, you want to go in with the mindset that you're trying to solve.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Jude with a quick reminder about the Divorced Advocate Foundation for Fathers, which is our nonprofit that helps dads through divorce with legal education, free or reduced cost coaching, and mental health resources. If you own a business or know someone who does, there's an easy way to help by connecting credit card processing through our partner program. Part of the fees go straight to the foundation with no added cost to the business, and 98% of businesses are actually able to save money on their processing fees. It's a win-win. So if you know a business that accepts credit cards, get them in touch with me by sending a warm introduction email to jude@thedivorcedadvocate.com, or give me a call directly at 720-255-1021. want to say solve the problem, but trying to come to some resolution without having to go to court. And we're going to talk about this further in one of the steps, because mediation can be effective in saving you an immense amount of money and also help you keep control of the situation. Because if you're making the decisions, even if you aren't happy with 100%, which you're not going to be in any negotiation, and anybody that's negotiated for a living knows that you're never going to be 100% happy with what you get. But if you can get to a percentage where you're able to control what it is that the decision comes out to be, rather than putting that in the hands of a court and a judge or a magistrate or somebody that literally doesn't know you, doesn't know the situation or circumstances, is giving you maybe hours at the most, not days. The rare occasion there are trials that go days for divorce, but most of them are hours. So they've only learned anything about you from hours, and then make a significant impact on your life by making a decision as to what that's going to look like in the future with your parenting time and the finances, et cetera. So if you can decide and come to some terms yourself outside of the court and a trial through mediation, that is going to go a long way and give you a lot more control over what happens. Okay, step number 4, find out if your divorce mediator will also process your divorce. Now, that is not something that I'm incredibly familiar with. There are some that will do that in some other states here in the United States. In our area here, mediation is almost always non-binding, and the mediators do not make decisions upon the case. They're simply there to help facilitate and then put into writing any agreements that have been made, and then that gets sent either back to the parties if they're not represented, or it goes to the parties' representation, and then they put into a formal agreement and submit to the court what it is that what that agreement is. So find out what that process is. And let me just say on that note, it is incumbent upon you yourself to figure out and learn what this process is. I know that it's daunting, and I know that so much goes into it when you're in the shock of going through divorce, or even if you've thought about it and you're the one that has filed and you're going through the process, it is overwhelming, but you have to get yourself educated on what that process is. So that might look like pulling up and reading the statutes in your area or in your state as to what that process is, what your rights are, how things happen. And we talk about this in a lot of the group meetings, taking the time to educate yourself by going down to the courthouse, watching some cases, watching some other people go through it, so you get to learn and really understand the nuances of what's going on. This is going to have a significant impact on your life. And oftentimes, and I'm speaking from my own experience here as well, we just trust the professionals that we've surrounded ourselves and hired to help us through this. Most specifically, our attorneys who know the law. But we really, it's just, I say all of the time in our group meetings, is you are driving this bus. Or another way to think of it is you are the coach of your divorce. You might have a divorce attorney that is important. You might be the quarterback, one of the most important positions on your team. But you're going to also surround yourself with other professionals that are going to have important input and feedback to you through this process, but you are ultimately going to be making the decisions, and you ultimately need to know what is going on. So don't defer that to attorneys or anybody else. Don't bury your head in the sand. Make sure to go and get yourself educated on what's going on. And part of that is knowing what the mediator's role is in your divorce process. Number 5, don't pay for unnecessary divorce mediation services. This just goes along the lines of what I just said. In our court system here in my county, mediation is required, so we have to go through it. But it is one of the things that I learned is a lot of these mediators will schedule for a half day will schedule only a half day and a half day, and you don't actually have to stay for a half day. If mediation is not successful, sitting there and spending 4 hours and paying for 4 hours of mediation when it's not going to happen is not necessary. I didn't know that the first couple of days, times I went and I sat in there and it was unsuccessful. Now going in, I know that I have to pay my minimum. There is a minimum that I have to pay to go in there. Which equates to a minimum number of hours, which is basically 2. And then after that, if things aren't successful, that can be it. I don't have to stay there and spend additional money for another 2 hours to get to that half day. So that's just an example of making sure that that you don't pay for unnecessary mediation services. Number 6, figure out how you will pay for divorce mediation. So this is more prevalent in states where you're hiring a mediator to basically help you work through coming to an agreement on your divorce. It can cost $5,000 to $10,000 to do that, which is significantly less expensive than going to court and hiring attorneys. So that might sound expensive to you, but I guarantee you that if you can get away with $5,000 to $10,000 in mediation fees in order to work all of this stuff out and not have to go to court, hire an attorney, go through all that stuff, it is definitely money well spent. But you got to know what that dollar amount is up front with your mediator and be able to prepare yourself to pay for that. Likely that's going to be split 50-50. So just know what that cost is and how you're going to pay for it. Number 7, approach divorce mediation with an open mind. Like I said earlier, you want to try to resolve this as amicably as possible. Neither party's going to get 100% of what they want. So if anybody, you or your soon-to-be ex, thinks that you're going to get 100% of what you want, you are sadly mistaken. And so if you don't believe that or they don't believe that, just wait till you go to trial and get the judgment from the magistrate or the judge, because it will not be 100% of what anybody wants. So, just make sure that you go in like not just with the notion of everything's going to be fair, or you just got to have an open mind. You got to have an open mind. The process in general is not fair. So in this whole system, it is not structured to be conducive to high conflict. So if there is high conflict, then it makes it more challenging. So if you can just kind of be open-minded about it, know that it's not fair, know that you're not going to be getting 100% of what you want, then you're going to set yourself up mentally, emotionally much better than otherwise. Number 8, realize that you and your spouse may be in different places psychologically. And this is a really good one. I talk a lot about in private session, talk a lot about in group session. And it's also something in the book that I recommend often that is called Rebuilding When Your Relationship Ends by Dr. Bruce Fisher. And that is that the person who files for divorce has usually been thinking about this for a greater period of time than the person who received the papers. And since women are the ones that file for divorce more than 70% of the time, that means the majority of the time us as men and as fathers are the ones that are catching up mentally and emotionally with the fact that we're going through a divorce. So you may be in a different place than she is in during this mediation because you're still trying to get your bearings around what is going on. But just also understand that the reason she might be coming at this from a different way and a different perspective, you may still, in an example, you may be still trying to think and understand why she's doing something, which probably if you're getting a divorce, you need to stop doing anyway because you haven't figured it out in this time and it hasn't worked. So trying to figure out how or why she's thinking and doing what she's doing is probably futile, and you just need to give up on it. But just know that trying to do that, particularly during this mental emotional state, you're going to be in very, very different places. So just kind of put that in perspective, have a little bit of compassion for yourself, but also have a little bit of understanding that the people in different places are coming at things from a different perspective. Number 9, see what you and your spouse can agree on before your first mediation session. So if you are in a relatively amicable position where you can discuss this before going in, write out a list of the things that you have agreed to, and you can just hand that to the mediator up front. This is everything that we have already agreed to. We don't need to waste our time with this stuff. And as much of that stuff as you can sort out. Now, that doesn't mean that that when you show up, she's going to do a 180 and maybe start asking for other things. Or it also doesn't mean that you can't utilize some of that stuff that you agreed on as a negotiating tool or something that you can change if there's other things that you're wanting to try to accomplish. But if you can agree on some things, that's good to go into. It's good to have a discussion before going to your first session. Say, what do we agree on? This is all the stuff, so that you have that, and that's just out of the way. Number 10, keep your frustration to yourself. Okay, so this is obviously divorce is emotional. You're going to have feelings of anger and resent and sadness. And that is all okay, and that is good. Just expressing those during mediation is just not going to be helpful. And I'll go one step further. Expressing those things in court is not helpful either. So a business-like demeanor in both of those circumstances is the best way that you can go about this process in a business-like manner. If you can take the emotions away and look at it like a business negotiation, then that's going to help you immensely. It will help you immensely. And I know that's not easy to do. It's easy to say, but just try to do it to the best of your abilities. Take those concerns, those worries, those perceived wrongs, whatever they are, take those out and look at it as a business negotiation, and how that business negotiation and the terms of what you're coming to an agreement on are going to either help or hinder you in the future once you are divorced. So if you can think of it in those terms, that will help immensely. Number 11, make a list of all of your assets and debts, pretty much. And then 12 is organize all of your financial information. And 13 is find out what your home is worth and decide if you want to keep it. So most mediators are going to ask you to have all of this stuff in some form or another when you come in, so that you're not just doing it off the cuff. But I want to emphasize, do your research. Make sure if you weren't the person that was in charge of finances, you don't really know, you didn't pay attention, or whatever it is, now's the time. Again, you need to start paying attention. You need to get them in order. You need to learn what you need to learn, like what the value of your home is, and decide if you can refinance that into your name, if you want to sell it, if there's equity, how much money you will get out if there is equity. You're going to have to talk to a real estate agent. You're going to have to talk to a mortgage broker. You're going to have to talk to a financial planner. You might have to talk to a CPA and or a bookkeeper. So again, these are all people that you need to have on your divorce team. You are the coach of that team. You are the one that is making the decisions, calling the shots, but they are the ones that are going to help to advise you and implement what it is the game plan is that you're putting forward through this process. So yes, I know in the midst of all of the emotions that are going on, you're going to have to figure out and work on ways in which to deal with and mitigate those emotions and get down to business and working on some of this stuff. Number 14, consider what custody schedule would work best for your children. Now, I want you to approach this from what is best for your children, because oftentimes this happens in the divorce, is that somebody is looking to, for whatever reason, and this is not an episode we're getting into mental emotional issues or personality disorders or any other reason. One person or the other is either trying to quote unquote win, or trying to hurt the other person by withholding the kids or alienating the kids. But we need to think about, in this process, what is in the best interest of the kiddos as far as what the custody schedule looks like, or in other words, parenting time schedules are going to look like. If your kids are old enough to have that conversation with them, but I would still make sure to make that and base that decision on what you feel is in the best interest of your kids, because you know best the entire circumstances around everything, the relationship, the environments, the mental emotional stability of your soon-to-be ex, all of that stuff. So you make the ultimate decision. Do not kowtow to a therapist. Do not kowtow to your soon-to-be ex. Do not kowtow to the kids and their demands. You know in what is going to be the best. So you make that decision based upon that. Number 15, think about how you and your children will be covered under a health insurance policy after the divorce. So this is just one of those, because this is one of a larger outlays. You want to make sure how to figure how you're going to cover them, but also in that, contingencies as to what happens if one or another person loses that health insurance. So say somebody is covered under health insurance under your job, but you lose that job and then there's no more health insurance. Also write in there and pay attention to contingencies if this stuff doesn't happen. And this is a good thing to think about for the entire agreement that you are preparing. The contingencies of what if I lose my job, what if somebody moves, what if whatever it might be, that you have something that is in plan and a backup. And this is one of those ones where hopefully if a mediator is well versed, they're going to be helping you think about some of this stuff. But again, it is not their job. They're there to just mediate. They're not there to help you through the process. If you have a knowledgeable one, that will be good. But again, it's incumbent upon you to know about these things. It's why it's really beneficial to have a divorce coach, to have somebody that's helping you walk through this process, preparing for mediation, talking about what that parenting plan is going to look like, helping you talk about whether or not you want to keep the house or refinance the house or sell the house, helping to talk about health insurance and what caveats there might be around that if you lose your job, or creative ways that you can do that, or all kinds of different things, because the divorce coaches have been through this usually themselves, like myself, but they've talked to hundreds and hundreds of other peoples and other people that have gone through it, but also looked at these parenting plans and these settlements as well, knowing what different things are going on. So make sure to check into the health insurance. Number 16, consider who will live in the house during the divorce and who will pay the expenses. Now, this is something, at least here in my metro area, that you will work out through temporary orders. Sometimes you'll go to mediation before temporary orders. Now, if you're mediating on your own and you're not in the court process, then you're going to have to pay attention to this, and you're going to have to determine who's going to stay in the house. You might both stay in the house and have what's called a nesting plan, which is one person leaves during a period of time where the other person stays with the kids and parents, and it's kind of a transitional way to get the kids used to having one parent, as well as the parents getting used to parenting on their own as single parents until the divorce is finalized, and then the other parent will go somewhere for that period of time. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can do this. And depending upon what the financial situation is, who pays for the expenses and whatnot. But something also you're going to have to think about while you're going into the mediation, because if you're not a temporary artist, if you're just trying to if you're trying to mediate this process yourself, then that will be something that you'll have to figure out. Number 17, if you are selling your house, choose your realtor carefully. And so my background is in real estate, construction, and mortgages. This is unbelievably important, and not to slam real estate agents, but a majority of real estate agents do this part-time. They about 80% of them do it part-time, and your mother's brother's sister's friend who's going to give you a deal and help you out on this is not the person you want to hire. Your deal is highly complex. There are a lot of variables that go into the sale of a home. There are a lot of pitfalls that can happen that can really, really make things challenging. Not to mention if they don't have a knowledge or understanding of the mortgage process and what can and can't happen there, that is just going to absolutely make things more difficult. And the last thing you need through this process is another professional that is not living up to the expectation, not the expectation, but living up to what they need to be doing in order to get this done for you. So find somebody that is versed in divorce, that has gone through this process with selling homes in a high conflict circumstance and a high conflict situation, and talk through it with them so that they know, and they should be able to explain and allay some of your fears around what could and couldn't happen. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.